Today we're going to talk about how to divide decimals by decimals. Mr. Joe bought a bag of corn chips that weighs 15 ounces. He loves corn because his jokes are so corny. He gave each student 25 ounces. How many hungry students did he feed? So imagine I have this bag of corn chips right here. I gave each student, it's 15 ounces. I gave each student 2,500, 2,500, 2,500, 2,500, 2,500. So I'm taking it away from this bag and giving it away. Isn't this just repeated subtraction? Did you know repeated subtraction is really division? So let's start dividing this. I have 15 ounces and I want to divide my bag into 2,500 portions. So how many students will I be able to feed? You could divide it like this way. I'm not. I don't like dividing by decimal point because I have to figure out what's the pattern for 2,500s, 50 hundredths, 75 hundredths, one whole, and 1 and 25 hundredths. Too complicated. I'd rather divide using whole numbers. I'd rather turn this divisor into a whole number. In order to turn this into a whole number, I need to move this decimal point 2 places. 1, 2. So now it was 25 hundredths. Now it's just 25. But in order to do that, you might say, how did I do that? I multiply by 100. If you multiply 100 by 25 hundredths, it becomes 25. Or I just move the place, decimal point 2 places to the right. But what about inside the divided right here? I also have to move that decimal point 2 places to the right. So let's see. You say, but there are no decimal point. Yeah, it is. Is it 15 the same thing as 15 whole? So I move this 2 places to the right. What goes in these empty placeholders? Zeros. So this problem has been rewritten as such. It's 1,500 divided by 25. Is this something we are more familiar with, dividing 1,500 by 25? I know, for me it is. I mean, this is equivalent to 15 divided by 25 hundredths. So let's look at this. Let's just do regular division now. Can 25 go in 1? No. Can 25 go in 15? No again. Can 25 go in 150? 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150. 6 times. Remainder is 0. I bring down to 0. Can 25 go 0? 0. So 60 students. I can feed 60 students of my corn chips. So, how would you model this problem? You have several ways you can model. You have 18. You want to divide it into groups of 6. How many groups will you have? You'll have 3 groups. 1 group, 2 group, 3 group. Do you know other ways to write 18 divided by 6? There are many ways. You could have written it like this way. 18 divided by 6. That's another way to write it. You could write it as a improper fraction, like this. And the last one, I had a student's domain. What about this? 18, like that one, like a ratio problem. It is. We'll be learning this coming up very soon. All of these represent the same thing. 18 divided by 6, 18 divided by 6, 18 divided by 6, 18 divided by 6. Which is, by the way, the answer is 3, if you were wondering. So, let's do some quick modeling, and then we'll do it through traditional method. So you have 2 and 4 tenths. I want to divide it into groups of 6 tenths. How many groups will you have? So, let's look at this red one. So, this is 1 whole, 2 whole, is 2 and 6 tenths. I need to divide it into groups of 6 tenths. So let's think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths. This is one group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the second group of 6 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the third group. Wait, am I even counting this correctly? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then, last but not least, 6 tenths. Wait, there are too many bars here. It's supposed to be 2 and 4 tenths. 2. Let me cross out these two. This is not supposed to be here. So, and then, do I have another group of 6 tenths? I do. It's right here. So how many groups of 6/10 go into 2 and 4/10? 4 groups. So the answer is 4. But you might say to yourself, already, what if I don't have these modeling pieces at home? Can I still answer? Of course you can, of course. So let's rewrite it as this. 2 and 4/10 divided by 6/10. I do not like dividing by decimal point. I'd rather turn this 6/10 into a whole number. We take out a different pen color. Let's move this decimal point one place over. It was 6/10, now it's just 6. This 2 and 4/10, I move it one over. It was 2 and 4/10, it became 24. Is this messy, or should we rewrite this again? I think so. So 24 is 6. 24 divided by 6 is equivalent to 2 and 4/10 divided by 6/10. And how many 6s go in 24? 4. And that is the answer. So how many groups of 6/10 go in 2 and 4/10? 4 groups. How many 6s go in 24? 4 groups. Skip, skip, skip. Skip, skip, skip. All right, let's try some of these. How many 3/10 groups of 3/10 go into 2 and 4/10? If you want to, you can draw a model of it. Here's so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 and 4/10. How many groups of 3/10 go in here? We have 1 group of 3/10, 2 group of 3/10, 3 group of 3/10, 3 of 3/10. Another group of 3/10, another group of, all right, I'm getting lost here, right here. Another group of 3/10, another group of 3/10, and another group of 3/10. So how many groups of 3/10 go into 2 and 4/10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 groups of 3/10 go into 2 and 4/10. Can we do this without this modeling? Because some people just don't want to draw this. I don't like drawing. I'd rather just answer it now. So is there another way to rewrite 2 and 4/10 divided by 0 and 3/10 as a division? Could I rewrite it like this way? I can. I don't know about you. I don't like dividing by decimal point. So can I turn this into a whole number? Yes, I can. Let me move this one place over. Well, if I move that one place over, I need to move this one place over. Can I rewrite this whole number problem into a more neater? It's too many work here. Isn't it just really 24 divided by 3? 2 and 4/10 divided by 3/10 is equivalent to 24 divided 3. And the answer is 8. There are 8 groups of 3/10 and 2 and 4/10. So let's practice one more. Let's go. I don't know. Here. You have 8/10. How many 400ths go into it? We could model this, but when you get the answer, you're just like, ooh, that would be so much to draw. I am not. So let's rewrite it as a dividing problem. So 0 and 8/10 divided by 0 and 400. I don't know about you, but I don't like this decimal right here. I need to turn it into a whole number. So I need to move this decimal point 2 places over. And I need to move this one 2 places over. What goes in this empty placeholder? A 0. Is this messy to you? Messy to me. Did you know 0 and 80/100 divided by 0 and 400 is the same as 80 divided by 4? And we all know how to do this. This is so much easier than looking at this. I don't know about you, but whole numbers, these whole numbers are so much easier for me. How many 4s go in 80? 20 times. So there are 20 groups of 400ths that go into 8/10. That's also another way to say this. There are 20 groups of 400ths that go into 80/100ths. And let's see if we did it correct. Dun, 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 dun. Yep, we did it correct. The answer is 20. Let's make it a little more difficult now. Let's make it a little more. 16 and 9/10 divided by 6 and 5/10 can be rewritten as like this. So I don't know about you, but I don't like these decimal points here. I'm going to try to remove these decimal points. So I moved this one place over. I moved this one place over. So I turned a 6 and 5/10 into a whole number 65. Very, very messy. I will rewrite it. So let me rewrite it. So 65 is the divisor, 169 is the dividend. How many 65s go into 169? Let's see. 65, first one, too small. 65 again would be 130. 65 again will be 195. So the first one, would one try go? Nope. Will two groups of 65 go in? 130? Maybe. Will three groups of 65, which is 195, go in here? No, that's too large. So let's use this one. Two groups of 65. The remainder is 39. Oh. In elementary school, this will be perfectly okay. 2 remainder 39. We need to get rid of this remainder right here. So the way you do it is you draw a decimal point here, and then add another 0 here, and bring it down. So how many 65 go into 390? Well, let's continue our pattern. Well, 4 groups of 65, which will be 260? No. Will 5 groups of 65 go into? That would be 325. Will 6 groups maybe? 6 groups of 65 will go to 390. So it's 6 groups. And remainder is 0. So the answer is this. 2 and 6/10. So how many 6 and 5/10 go into 6 groups? How many groups of 6 and 5/10 go into 16 and 9/10? 2 and 6/10 groups. Here's another one. If you want to, I can pull your work. If you don't really believe me, here's a more professional way how they did it. They turned the decimal into whole numbers. They turned the 6 and 5/10 into 65, and they turned 16 and 9/10 to 169. And they just divided, and they eventually got 2 and 6/10. So let's try one last example. You have 2 and 65, 656,000 divided by 3,200. So how many groups of 3,200 will go into this? I have no idea. So that's why we're going to divide it. This is another way to do it. I don't know about you. I don't like all these decimal points on the inside right here into this divisor. So I'm going to take this decimal point and move it 2 units to the right. Then I'm going to take this decimal point in the dividend 2 units to the right. 1, 2. But then just say, oh, but it's still a decimal point in here. But would you rather divide by 32 than 3,200? I don't know about you, but I would. Let's rewrite this messiness. It's too messy for me. So this problem is also equivalent to 265 and 6/10 divided by 32. It means the same thing. This is the same as this. So before I begin, I'm going to write out my groups. One group of 32 is 32. 2 groups of 32 is 64. 3 groups of 32 is 96. 4 groups of 32 is 128. 5 groups of 32 is 160. Heck, I'll do another one. Another 6 groups of 32 is 192. Then you're going to do another one. You don't have to. I don't know how far to go. 7 groups of 32 is 224. So let's begin dividing. How many 32 go into? None. How many 32 go into 26? None again. How many 32s go into 265? You know what? We should have continued on. So 8 groups of 32 would be 256. And is that enough to reach 265? It is enough. So 8 groups of 32 is 256. That leaves you a remainder of 9, which I bring down the 6. Oh, there's a decimal point here. Don't forget the decimal point here for tenths. And how many groups of 32 go into 96? 3 groups of it. And the answer is 8 and 3/10. So the question is, how many groups of 3200s go into 2 and 656,000? 8 and 3/10. Let's pull this down. If you don't believe me, dun. Yay! It's correct. I did do it correct. Of course, this is more neater form of what I did. What I did is I turned 3200th into a whole number by moving the place by the decimal point 2 units to the right. And for 2 and 656,000, they move it 2 units to the right to 265 and 60 hundredths. And they just divided, and eventually got 8 and 3/10. And hey, let's do another one. We have another one. How many groups of 1600s go into 20? I don't know. I know a lot. So here is our division problem. I don't know about you. I do not like dividing by a decimal point, so I'd rather turn this into a whole number by moving this 2 places to the right. 20. Where is it? Oh, it's 20 whole. Oh, this point right here. So I move this 2 units right. What goes in the empty placeholder? 0. So is it 20 divided by 1600 the same thing as 2000 divided by 16? It is. It is. So before I begin, I'm going to do my groups of 16. I do not know how many groups of them I need. I'll go to 7 or 8. One group of 16 is 16. 2 groups of 16 is 32. 3 groups of 16 is 48. 4 groups of 16 is 64. 5 groups of 16 is 80. 6 groups of 16 is 96. 7, well, I'm going to stop for now. I don't know if I need that many. We'll see. So the first question is, how many 16 go in 2? None. How many groups of 16 go in 20? 1 group. Remainder is 4. I bring down to 0. How many groups of 16 go into 40? 2 groups of 16 goes into 40, which is 32. 8, bring down to 0. And how many groups of 16 go into 80? 5 groups. Bam. Done. So, how many groups of 1600s go into 20? 125 of them. And I did do it correct. Yay. And so that is our answer. So what I did again, if you're wondering, what did they do again? They turned this 1600s into a whole number by moving the decimal point 2 units to the right. And so 20 had to, that decimal point had to be moved 2 units to the right, so it's 2000. Then you just do regular division. So the main thing you know about dividing by decimal is, if you're dividing by a decimal, you could, it's not the most easiest thing, most people will just turn it into a whole number. So you have to think, how many units to the right will I have to move it? If you do that, in your dividend, you also have to move that decimal point. Then you just do regular division, and you'll have your answer. This is dividing decimals.